have the keys. The keys were inside the car, so I broke the window, the side window, to get in the car because I would be late. And then when you're late, then the army is on the streets with tanks, and you have to drive super slow with your lights inside the car on so they can see you. But it's really dangerous because sometimes these soldiers were like 16, 17-year-old kids with automatic weapons, and they'll shoot at you. So I broke the window, and when I was breaking the window, this drunk guy was like, he thought I was still in the car. So I had a fight with the guy, get in the car and race and drop your mom before the 10 p.m. Curfew.
Here I'm talking with my father about his time living in Peru in the 80's, the time when there was corrupt government, martial law, and terrorist attacks, his experience, what he knows from the event, and what he did to get out of it.
I mean, Peru, the history of the society is like 500 years old since the Spaniards came, and the Spaniards basically put all the Incas in a sub-society, so it's an inequality, it's just socially unbalanced, I mean, a worker is working as an employee. It will be really hard for him to buy a house or a car, And so some people from the far left start acting like as rebels and trying to completely change the system because they didn't believe in democracy. Well, basically, we were having lots of freedom, In Peru, back in the 70s, you can do everything. You can drink and drive. It was legal, unless you have an accident, then you're in trouble. But you can do almost anything. And then there's the state of emergency that you have to go back at home at 10 p.m. So some parties will finish at 10 p.m. or start at 10 p.m. and all night. So it was really hard because it was no power. Like they blow out the towers for the electricity every week. So there was no warm water every day of the week, and there's no lights. So everybody has backup generators or candles. So it was the norm, And you gotta figure it out how to study and take your shower. Cold showers in the winter. And then then you start getting more and more people dying, which is horrible. So I think 50, 60,000 people die, because nobody will find a solution, The terrorists will go to the villages up in the Andes, basically, and put bombs and say, if you don't help us, we're going to kill you. And they end up killing lots of people from the villages up in the Andes, and then in the cities they put bombs, and they call coche bombas, the car bombs. At the end, in 1987, 88, they put a big, powerful in the center of Lima, Miraflores, and that's when everybody got really, really close, because went from the villages to everybody's hometown. Biggest thing was that governments couldn't do anything. The government was always like, the police were like afraid to go because they were undergunned and under power, and they couldn't fight, with the weapons, and that the police got. These terrorists have so much dynamite and this and that. And the biggest problem was that democracy didn't really help, because to be a terrorist, you need to be found with a match and a dynamite in your hand. And then, this is a terrorist. So it was impossible to judge one of these guys, because he was always getting free, unless you got proof that he was lighting up a bomb with a picture or something. So the same thing is happening here. You get a terrorist attack, they gotta go to the civil courts, and they have a defense attorney, and it's really hard. But in Peru, lucky, at one point in 91, we got this president that abolished Congress, and he changed one law. It's called the terrorist, la apología del terrorista. So it means if you know somebody, or if you're covering somebody, you're also a terrorist. And he ended up the whole left movement in about 2 or 3 years with that law. It completely stopped. And they were going to places where they knew they were, and they were probably killing some terrorists, and some innocent people got killed at the same time. It was a state of emergency. It was like a war, 60,000 people is no joke. So what happened now, the president, because of the human rights, that president, because some innocent people got killed, is in jail. Even though he was able to save the whole country from going in a spiral. Besides that, he also fixed the economy because the inflation was over 1,000%. And he completely stopped the inflation. I remember I fill up my gas tank in the car, and one day the money exchange was so crazy that it was like I have $500 in gas, so I didn't want to drive my car. It's too expensive. Inflation was so crazy that I worked for my dad for like 4 years. My best salary was my first month, which was $200 a month. They give me a raise every 6 months, but it was never $200 again. It was always in the dollar exchange. It was less, so we were making money in soles, no? So my first one was 200, and after 4 years, I was making $180 because even though I got a raise every 6 months, the inflation and the terrorism were both things that it was solved by this President Fujimori, that is in jail now. Last year, this new president from the right given a pardon or forgiveness because he was 87, so he got out of jail. But then a new government came in and they said, no, this guy needs to go back to jail, and they put him back in jail. Well, I finished my career of industrial engineer in 1986, and then I worked for my dad for 4 years until I knew that was just going nowhere. My money was 1 month salary. I remember I bought a nice sweatshirt, and that was it. So I had to live with my mom. There was no future. And I said, this is enough. I need to get out of here. And then I got out in 1990, December 31st, 1990, and I landed January 1st, 1991 in here in the States.
That's crazy.
Yeah.